So with these tinnitus changes that everyone keeps saying that tinnitus is going away, it's not. Tinnitus is not going away. And that also means that secondary conditions to tinnitus are not going away. Side note here, I was an 0341 in the Marine Corps, which is a mortarman. And outside of that, in 2017, I spent more time than I wanted to on a gun line of 155 in Syria. So when it comes to tinnitus, it sucks, and I know it sucks, okay? I'm going to link a video that really explains the tinnitus changes, but in short, the diagnostic code in 38 CFR is going away, but tinnitus itself will be roped under these 4 other diagnostic codes. Most common will be hearing loss, then vertigo, then TBI, and finally all the other neurological disorders. The VA rates symptoms, and they always have. So if you don't have hearing loss, but you have tinnitus, the VA will rope your tinnitus under hearing loss diagnostic code, which is 6100, and that will still be rated at 10%. It's like saying you have anxiety but not PTSD. It's going to be rated the same because the VA rates symptoms. So no, tinnitus is not going away, and that video below really explains that and shows you the proposal. Which also means that secondary claims to tinnitus are not going away. By far, the most common secondary claims to tinnitus are going to be migraines, anxiety, and vertigo. There is a study, and I've seen 2 veterans myself that have sleep apnea secondary to tinnitus, but it is certainly not common, and I'm going to leave that study below in the pinned comment. Now, I know YouTube really paints an insane picture of how tinnitus can get you 100%. And while that is technically true, it's not that easy. And these secondary claims are no walk in the park either. Secondary claims are not a one-size-fits-all. Just because you have tinnitus and you have migraines does not mean those are connected. Same goes for tinnitus and anxiety, tinnitus and vertigo. It does not mean that they are connected or worsen the other. So regardless, you're going to need evidence to show how your tinnitus affects your migraines or your X secondary claim. It's not a one-size-fits-all. It's not presumptive, okay? There are older studies that show migraines are connected to tinnitus, and there are newer studies that show tinnitus is a symptom of an underlying condition, hence the changes to tinnitus. It is my opinion that veterans should steer away from that causation link and really focus on gathering evidence for aggravation. So speaking with your primary or referred care about how your tinnitus makes your migraines worse, documenting your active tinnitus while your migraines are acting up and reporting these symptoms to your healthcare team is going to be crucial. Notice how I keep saying your. Don't worry about so-and-so who got migraines secondary to tinnitus. Don't worry about so-and-so who got anxiety secondary to tinnitus. That's irrelevant. The only thing that the VA is going to look at for your claim is your evidence, and I can't stress that enough. Now, the same thing goes for any mental health condition connected to tinnitus, and we're going to use anxiety for the example here. If you are one of those that have constant tinnitus to the point where your tinnitus is severe and impedes your lifestyle, that is where you will start to see anxiety stemming from tinnitus. If you get your tinnitus, which is very, mild at worst, about once a month, obviously those 2 situations are going to be extremely different. So you got to figure out where you fall on that scale. Do you have tinnitus but not as much? Do you have tinnitus but super severe and very, very constant? That's going to dictate your avenues to secondaries, and it's going to have a lot of influence on your secondary claims to tinnitus. The only change you will see to tinnitus secondaries is insomnia. Insomnia must be service-connected direct, or it'll fall within the claimed condition. Insomnia is essentially worthless unless you have other mental health conditions as a secondary. When it comes to vertigo, and the VA diagnostic code in 38 CFR will be peripheral vestibular disorders, or dizziness, I'm just going to say vertigo. Once these tinnitus changes go into effect, this claim will be much, much easier. In fact, that 10% rating for tinnitus could very well end up in the veteran's favor and open the door to that peripheral vestibular disorder at that 30% rating, especially for those that have dizziness, motion sickness, and nausea. Tinnitus is a 10% rating currently, and after these changes, tinnitus is still going to be a 10% rating. It's not going away whatsoever. Now, if you are one of those veterans that fall into the vertigo category when it comes to tinnitus, that also opens up the door to Meniere's, and that Meniere's rule is going to apply. I'm going to leave that video below in the pinned comment explaining the Meniere's rule when it comes to the M21 TAC1 of hearing loss, vertigo, and tinnitus, and Meniere's. In short, you're only going to have one. It's going to be the highest, okay? That's it. Those are your secondary claims. Yes, sleep apnea can be service-connected secondary. I've seen it twice myself. You can look at the study below in the pinned comments. But when it comes to secondary claims, all claims, it's the big three: the in-service event, that current diagnosis, and the nexus. For secondary claims specifically, the in-service event goes away and it becomes your primary claimed condition. You absolutely must have a current diagnosis no matter what, but that really comes in clutch for secondary claims. Imagine making a claim for migraine secondary to tinnitus, but you're not diagnosed with migraines. You may get them, and that sucks, but if you're not diagnosed, your claim is dead in the water. No diagnosis, no claim. For secondaries, you absolutely want to take the time to get diagnosed, or at a minimum, get that treatment code, which is going to be an SCT code in your VA medical records for those migraines. I'm using migraine as an example here, but that's any condition related to any other condition, any secondary claim. Get diagnosed, and then the nexus specifically is not going to link your current diagnosis to service. It's going to link your current diagnosis to that primary disability. So for instance, migraine secondary to tinnitus. Now, I will say this, although you claim migraine secondary to tinnitus, the VA will look at migraines direct. That's their duty to assist. And so if your decision letter says something like there's no in-service treatment records of migraines, that's why. The VA did their duty and they looked at direct service connection. They looked at secondary service connection. Oh, and since it's migraines, they could also fall under the MUCMI for presumptive or even TERA. So that decision letter could have multiple denials, assuming you're denied, multiple denials roped within that. And yes, if you're denied migraines, even if it was 100 years ago, you need a supplemental claim. If you were denied direct, but you want to claim secondary, you still need to submit that supplemental claim.